It does not sound good for Spurs, does it? I mean, their injury crisis has been widely publicised, but the majority of these players should be nearing a return by now. But despite that, Richarlison, Romero, Solanke, Odobert, Dragusin are all ruled out. Maddison, Van de Ven, Udogie, Vicario, Vernon, Johnson are rated no more than 50-50. Darren, what on earth is going on in a physio room at Spurs?
Firstly, the amount of people that I just heard there delighted and buzzing and advocating for a manager to lose his job. This is a man with a life. He wants his money. Keep him at the football club. Look, the injury crisis it's not great. It's not... Everyone says, everyone has injuries. There's always injuries at every club. And of course there are. Not in this situation, not like sustainable like this, in 3 months or longer, that there's been 10, 11 players out. And when players are coming back, they get injured again. That something is clearly going wrong, whether the training methods are too hard, and especially when it's muscular as well. So, yeah, something's going wrong. I was disappointed when Romero and Van de Ven... Romero and Van de Ven.
You could do it, Romario.
I know,
absolute Brazilian legend.
I tell you, he'd get in the team, isn't he? The centre half at the moment. But Romero and Van de Ven, when they brought them both back at the same time, I thought that was on Ange. That was his fault. But you can only go on what the medical staff are telling you. You can only go on what the players are telling you. If you declare yourself fit as a manager, you want your best team out. It's not just the injuries as well. And yes, it's an injury crisis. Yes, everyone else has them. It's the players that are playing. Bergvall, Mikey Moore's been playing recently. Archie Gray's been playing. They're playing week in, week out, and then tiredness kicks in as well. And everyone will be saying, "Oh, boo-hoo, cry more," etc. But it's difficult. Should they be higher than 14th in the league? Of course they should. Should they have gone out of a whimper against Liverpool? No, they should have given it more. That's on the players. That's on some of Ange's tactics. But when the whole team is fit, when the whole... And I talk about this to some of my friends as well, and they're like, well, you had your whole team against Ipswich and lost. You had your whole team against Palace and lost. That can happen. But then we'd have gone in other games and won. These results against teams that are struggling happen. Of course they happen, but it goes in with what's been happening as well. So the argument of it's an injury crisis gets thrown back at, well, there weren't against Ipswich and you lost that. Something's going wrong in terms of the training, the medical side of things, and that needs to be addressed. Whether it is at the moment, we don't know. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Should they all be back? It seems like it. A few weeks ago, a lot of them were supposed to be back for the Liverpool game. It didn't happen. But we can only go on what Ange is telling us and what the medical staff are telling him. So as frustrating as it is, I can't be calling for him to be sacked at the moment. I really can't.
Well, Aaron Lennon, former Spurs midfielder, he was on talkSPORT Breakfast Show this morning. He thinks that there is more to Spurs' injury record than just bad luck.
Definitely. Frustrating is probably the right word to use. It's been difficult to watch, actually, as recent weeks have gone by. It's been really difficult. Look, the injury list is shocking. And that's, to me, there's more to it. You don't just have reoccurrence injuries, injury after injury, whether that's the training load, whether that's players coming back too early, whether it's mismanagement, I don't know. But there's a massive problem there, what needs solving. But yeah, it's been a frustrating season. Like I said, the start of last season when Ange come in, it was like a buzz, and look, everyone was like, we've got our Tottenham back, and you're watching it this season, and it's, like I said, it's been a difficult watch these last few weeks.
Where's Van de Ven, by the way? Because he was meant to come back. He is key for you because he's so quick and he's a decent defender. Yeah. What he was meant to come back for Liverpool game, and then they said, "Oh, we want to take a precaution," but he's just not featured.
No, he played, didn't he? Against, was it Spurs? He played, I think, 45 minutes.
The Swedish giant, Salzburg.
Yeah, and that was just to get him minutes under his belt, and I thought that's probably the right thing to do if you're going to bring him in against Liverpool, Aston Villa as well in the FA Cup. But yes, that's concerning, by the way, because then rumour mill starts hitting and things are more serious than we are being made clear of. But we don't actually know. But I do agree with with Aaron Lennon, with yourself, what you said. You look at the list: Romero, muscular; Udogie, hamstring; Odobert, hamstring; Werner, hamstring; Johnson, muscular; Maddison, calf; Richarlison, calf; and Van der Ven, of course, was his hamstring. So out of the 11, there was only 1, 2, 3 that was a knock, ankle and knees, and that's concerning because are the training methods too hard? But with the sports science now and they put on GPS trackers. I would come into the back end of it when I was in my career. You go in, you're filling questionnaires. Your heart rate's taken every morning, and you test your muscles every morning to see where you're at. So we shouldn't be getting so many muscular strains because that should be all tracked and monitored. The fact it's not is concerning. So I don't know what to say about that situation. I can't say that's Ange Postecoglou's fault in particular. That's the staff, the medical staff, him coming together, communicating, saying we can't do this, it's too much. That's the whole club staff in that situation. But again, I'm going to stress, unless there's managers out there that can make a difference, Thomas, Frank, Iraola, just to name two off my head that you think they can make a difference, they're not going to be leaving their football clubs now. Absolutely not. Why would they? So it's going to be a mid-table at best for Spurs. It's going to be maybe a Europa League run, hopefully as far as we can go. Is another manager going to change that now? No. So I just see it pointless making the change.
It seems to me that people that want Ange in are much more happy to use the injury crisis as, well, you call it an excuse, you can call it a scapegoat for the issues, but they're more likely to talk about that.
It's a reason.
As a reason and a justification for what's going on at the minute. But how much responsibility do you put on Daniel Levy? He's coming under loads of criticisms. As you mentioned earlier, there's been protests, banners, chants, boos. Fair play to him, he's at every game. You always see him, the camera pans to him. Where do you think he stands in this? And if you had a choice, you've come back to the Ange loving, you're Angeing.
Yeah.
If you, I know this is hypothetical, but if you had a choice to choose between Levy and Postecoglou, what would you do?
What to go?
Yeah.
It would be Levy for me. It would. And look, I've been critical of Levy before, and it got me not in trouble, but it lost me a gig in terms of I was working for Palace against Spurs, and I got pulled from the gig because I criticised the ownership. And
so do you reckon there's been a message that's come down saying we're not working with
Darren
Ambrose?
I just got a call off Palace who said when we're not doing it, they don't want to do it with me, so they had to change who was doing it.
They cancelled you for that.
They cancelled me for that, yeah. And I was critical of Daniel Levy, and I said this earlier in the show that his legacy is the stadium. The stadium is amazing. The training ground is amazing. The way the club's run. Listening to Simon Jordan with Jim White this morning, one of the most well-run clubs in world football, in terms of the profit they're making and the concerts they have at the stadium, the training ground. But on the football field, which is all football fans care about, and rightly so, they pay their money to go and watch, it's not good enough. But one trophy under his ownership, but not his ownership, of course, it's Joe Lewis, the Ineos Group. He's essentially the chairman of the football club. But one trophy in that period is just not good enough for the size of club that Spurs are. And people can banter about Spurs are not a big club this season. They're obviously down on in the table, but it's a huge football club. You only look at what they're doing in terms of stadiums, and it's a huge football club. And that there, the empty trophy cabinet is just not good enough. I know it. Jamie O'Hara's Spurs knows it on here. Every Spurs supporter knows that it's not good enough, and that needs to change. And I don't see that changing under this ownership and under Daniel Levy.
If the pressure continues from the fan groups, from the protests, can you see a world where Daniel Levy calls it a day and steps aside for somebody else?
Only if it's right for him, for the shareholders, and essentially for the football club. That's the only way I see it happening. I heard him speaking before about this, and he's had his words. He's had a lot of bids, but have not been right for him and the shareholders, which essentially that's what they want. They're going to walk away for free. This club's going to be worth an awful lot of money in terms of what the revenue they bring in with the concerts, the Formula One, whatever's going on in terms of that. It's going to cost a lot. And again, Simon Jordan said about £4 billion, he reckons, at least, for this football club. So unless someone comes out and puts that on the table that gets their eyes looking and going, right, we can sell this football club, he's going to do exactly what he's doing now. That he is thick-skinned, let's be honest. He get criticised all the time, and he has done for numerous years now.
Yeah.
And he sits there in his chair and he watches every game. I believe there's a protest organised at the weekend. He'll still be there. He won't care. And that's essentially, he runs the football club on a business side, which is not what football fans want. You don't want a business-run football club. You want a fan-run football club that is going to just want to go and win trophies.
Well, we'll see where the pressure ends up and whether or not that it gets to Daniel Levy. I agree with you, Darren. I can't see things changing.